Breaking news. You are a terrorist. Canadian government shocks CDS Musa, denies him visa to travel to Canada. Here are the news in details. Wonderful people of Biafra, lovers of freedom all over the world, you are welcome to Biafra Unite channel /television this very moment. Today's date is 14th of February 2025, and I have breaking information for every one of you listening to my voice right now from wherever you are all over the world. Biafrans and lovers of freedom, it don't happen. And I want every one of you to pay very good attention to this very news, because it's very, very important. I can assure you, my people, I want this very news to get to Finland. I want the Finnish authority to listen to this very news, because the man in question is the #1 military officer in the Zoological Republic of Animal Kingdom called Nigeria. He is the #1 military officer, the highest ranking military officer in Nigeria. And not only that, he is the first person, or should I say the person, who has been calling Finland to arrest Mazi Simon Ekpa, the Prime Minister of Biafra. So, that is the reason why this message has to get to Finnish authority, for them to see what Canada has done to this very terrorist, the man that commands the army that goes to all the nook and crannies of Nigeria, massacring innocent civilians. That is the man we are talking about. I have a video which I'm going to play for all of you listening to me. And first of all, let me read from China's television. According to their own headline, they said, Canada denying CDS a visa, disrespectful to Nigeria Interior Minister. The minister questioned how an average Nigerian will be treated by the embassy if General Musa was disrespected in that way. It is not my business. Canada knows who Musa is, and they know his job. They know he's a terrorist. That's why they cannot allow him to enter their nation. Now, the Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji Ojo, has condemned the Canadian embassy's denial of a visa to Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa. General Musa disclosed on Thursday at the maiden annual lecture of the National Association of the Institute for Security Studies that the Canadian embassy denied him and some members of his team visas to attend an event to honor war veterans in Canada. Not just only him, but also other members of his team, as they are all in cahoots. He is not the only one. Not only him, but the members of his team, because Canada knows very well that these are the group of high-ranking military officers of Nigeria that command their junior members to go into the villages and massacre innocent people, and not only massacring them, but also harvest their organs and sell to the foreign countries in exchange of money. This is what they do, and Canada understands it perfectly well. They said Tunji Ojo, who was a guest on China's television's Sunrise Daily on Friday, said the action by the Canadian embassy is condemnable and shows a lack of respect for Nigeria as a country. Who wants to respect a terrorist country like the zoo? Nobody. Anybody showing any act of respect to the zoo is a collaborator. I'm telling you, it's either you are collaborating in this act of terrorism, or you are gaining some kind of things from this zoo through mineral or solid resources that God has bestowed in our land. That's all. In my own is just, I was born to say the truth. That's what I'm doing. Now, the minister questioned how an average Nigerian will be treated by the Canadian embassy if the Chief of Defense Staff were disrespected in that way. And he continued. He said, without knowing the full facts, I think even for us, it is a policy. The issue of reciprocity, as I always say, has to be given due consideration. As much as we are not ready to dabble into the sovereignty of other nations, the issue of visas, issue of migration management is a sovereign issue. As much as we don't want to dabble into that, it is not a disrespect to the Chief of Defense Staff, to me, without knowing the facts. It is disrespectful to the country, and it is disrespectful to us as a people, to them, because I am not included, and I'm very sure other Biafrans like me are not included. Now, if that can happen to the Chief of Defense Staff, then I am worried for an average Nigerian, Tunji Ojo said. So, without, further ado, this is the video here. I will play the video for you, even when this very woman, because I'm not going to start analyzing the video, but let me tell you, this very biased journalist here, this woman you see here, even when she tried to, sugarcoat everything to make it not to look like an embarrassing situation to the zoo or to Musa, the man in question, the Minister of Interior, this Tunji Ojo, let her understand that we cannot sugarcoat it, that it is an embarrassment. But not just an embarrassment, the Canadian government and its embassy knows very well who Musa is. They know that Musa is a terrorist. He is a terrorist commander. That is the reason why they can never allow him to enter their nation. Now, let me play the video. I want you to watch the video. To salo the Mozia corner auto and make it go viral.
So happy Valentine's Day to you.
Thank you.
Anyways, so quite a number of things. I do not know if you want to add a comment or two to what to the to events that transpired yesterday. You listening and hearing that someone in the rank of the Chief of Defense Staff was denied a visa by an embassy here in Nigeria.
Well, I think as much as I wouldn't want to say too much, but I think the NSA has spoken about it and well captured. And I think it speaks to issue of reciprocity of respect, between nations, because somebody who is the Chief of Defense Staff, that's the highest military personnel, in the country, and it's unexpected. It's I would say it's condemnable, and without knowing the full facts. But I think even for us, in terms of visa policy, it means that issue of reciprocity, as I always say, has to be given due consideration, because when as much as we're not ready to dabble into the sovereignty or sovereign issues of other nations, issue of visas, issue of migration management is it's a sovereign issue. It borders on sovereignty and right of every nation. But as much as we don't want to dabble into that, but we think that it's not disrespect to the Chief of Defense Staff. To me, it's without knowing the facts, it's disrespectful to the country, and it's disrespectful to us as a people. If that can happen to the Chief of Defense Staff, then I'm worried. For an average Nigerian.
I know that there isn't enough. There aren't enough details as to why that was done in the first place. But I did go to the Canadian Embassy, their website, to see if there had been some kind of upgrade, because sometimes these things happen where there's an upgrade on their visa policy, and there was an upgrade, and that upgrade was on February the 12th. And that upgrade actually affects a lot of people. If there's a change in a person's status or circumstances, makes them inadmissible. And if an officer, that's the person in the embassy, is not satisfied that the person can leave Canada by the end of the authorized period, and the document, or if the document is lost or stolen. So they had actually just upgraded.
No, but excuse me.
Some of their policies.
I'm so sorry to interject. Don't let us mix words. We're talking about the Chief of Defense Staff. We're talking about a man who is the highest ranked, highest placed military person in Nigeria. That is not just a person. As much as I said, I believe there will be back-channel diplomatic solutions to this, but we have to say this, and we have to condemn it. My worry, it's not just about the Chief of Defense Staff. My worry is if this, because you will not tell me the Chief of Defense Staff is going to abscond, or the Chief of Defense Staff cannot, because his bills will even be paid by government. Yeah. So to me, I don't see any rationale. And even if there are questions that you need to ask, there are back-channel diplomatic ways, protocol-wise, of solving these issues. My worry is not about him. As you can see, I don't think he's bothered. But I, as a Minister of Interior, in charge of migration management, in charge of immigration, who handles the issue of visa issuance and, of course, entry permits and etc., gets bothered that, hey, are we being taken for granted here? So that's the discussion. The discussion is to the average Nigerian, to that hardworking family who just wants a holiday, to that businessman who wants to go to Canada to explore business opportunities legitimately, to that Nigerian who all he needs is education, who can afford it. So my worry is about that average Nigerian, not just about the chief of defense staff. Is an individual, yes. But if this can happen to him, then there's a cause for concern.
It's very important.
I sincerely believe that, knowing the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I know my colleague, Ambassador Tuga, will be on top of this.
I want to be able to, sorry about that, I want to be able to get your thoughts, because one of the criticisms that we've heard from that particular event was that the language that was used by the NSA, many people online and in many fora, they've said it wasn't very complimentary, that phrase, go to hell.
Well, I think we should talk more of the action rather than the reaction. And that's my sincere opinion. You know, it's basic Newton's law in physics, action and reaction. But as much as I don't want to, as I sit here, I don't have the full details. But what I believe is that, let's assume there are areas that needed clarification. There are diplomatic back channels, because you're talking about this is the head of the Nigerian military, for crying out loud.
And I think that point has been made, Honorable Minister, because I also see here on the front page of Daily Trust that the embassy is saying that they'll state their position. So we'll wait and see just what the position is and what precisely, could have led to what many Nigerians have regarded as an...
No, but for me, as much as I agree with that, and I don't want to really stretch this, my position is that if there is mutual respect,
that shouldn't...
Exactly, there are back channels. You are talking about a chief of defense staff. You can reach out to the office or to Foreign Affairs. The Foreign Affairs interfaces on behalf of Nigeria with all embassies and consulates.
And in some instances, by now, the foreign minister would have been summoning the Canadian ambassador to find out what precisely...
I'm pretty sure, knowing the Minister of Foreign Affairs for who he is, I'm sure a lot of work will be going on the back channel. And most diplomatic activities are not on the pages of newspaper.
Absolutely.
Most of them are via back channel. And I'm sure that the meetings are going on. And I want to know, because I know the Canadian government has always been very responsive to Nigerians, so this coming, maybe because, as you said, change of the policy, but whatever it is, the status of the CDS has not changed. He's not the former CDS. He is the present. So nothing has changed. But I believe, as a country, the Minister of Foreign Affairs will take that diplomatic channel and resolve all these issues in the interest of Nigeria. But I'm happy that at least we have an opportunity to talk about this. And on the back channel, it's not just going to be, let's issue, but to the average Nigerians, let us be treated with respect.